At a horse auction, there was one particular skinny and rejected horse. A young woman decides to buy the horse, ignoring the criticism and laughter from the crowd. Through arduous training, she tries to transform the horse into a champion. Together, they would have to face a hair-raising challenge. Before hearing this exciting tale, remember to subscribe to the channel. The scorching midday sun beat down on the small town of Green Valley, but not even the suffocating heat could dissuade the crowd gathering around the old barn at the Johnson farm. It was auction day, and the excited buzz filled the air with expectation and anxiety. Among the flushed faces and eager smiles, a young woman with messy brown hair and determined green eyes stood out. Emily, having just turned 22, nervously clutched the strap of her worn bag, where she kept all her savings. The daughter of small farmers, she had grown up surrounded by animals and had nurtured a special love for horses since she could remember. The auctioneer, a stout man with a powerful voice, climbed onto the small improvised platform and began the proceedings. One by one, the lots were presented and sold: dairy cows, beef cattle, some sheep, and even a few particularly plump chickens. Emily watched everything attentively, but her heart beat faster with each passing minute. She knew the moment she had been waiting for was near. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the auctioneer announced, "And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a rather peculiar lot here." He paused dramatically, eliciting some nervous laughter from the audience. A horse. Well, if we can call this poor creature a horse. A murmur of curiosity rippled through the crowd when two men led an animal that could barely stand into the center of the yard. It was a dark-coated stallion, perhaps once imposing, but now nothing more than skin and bones. Its ribs were visible beneath its dull, lifeless coat, and its eyes, once surely lively, were now empty pools of resignation. "As you can see," continued the auctioneer, not hiding the disdain in his voice, "this animal has seen better days. Frankly, I doubt it's good for anything other than dog food, but rules are rules. Let's start the bidding at, well, how about $50? The audience erupted in laughter. Some men shouted cruel jokes, while others simply shook their heads, disgusted by the sight of the mistreated animal. Emily, however, felt her heart tighten. Her eyes met those of the horse, and in that brief instant she saw a glimmer, faint, almost imperceptible, of hope. Without thinking twice, Emily raised her hand and shouted, $100. Silence fell over the crowd like a heavy blanket. All heads turned in her direction, expressions of shock and disbelief etched on every face. The auctioneer, momentarily speechless, cleared his throat before regaining his composure. "Well, it seems we have a brave young lady here," he said, an ironic smile playing on his lips. "Does anyone offer more than $100 for this, unique specimen?" The silence persisted. No one dared to make a bid, fearing to be left with the burden of caring for an animal clearly on the brink of death. $100 for the first time, announced the auctioneer, his voice echoing across the yard. $100 for the second time. Emily held her breath, her fingers tightly gripping the strap of her bag. It was more than she had planned to spend, but something inside her said it was worth it. "Sold!" The sound of the gavel sealing the fate of the horse and the young woman. To the young lady in the floral dress, "Congratulations, you've just acquired a horse." The laughter and malicious comments were not long in coming. "Hey girl, you know you could have bought a rocking horse for that price, right?" Someone from the crowd shouted, provoking more laughter. Ignoring the looks of pity and the jokes, Emily walked with firm steps to the center of the yard. She approached the horse carefully, extending her hand to touch its muzzle. The animal recoiled slightly, distrustful, but something in the young woman's gentle touch seemed to calm it. "It's all right, friend," she whispered, her voice as soft as a summer breeze. "I'll take care of you now. I promise." As she led the horse away from the auction site, Emily could feel curious glances and whispers following her. She knew many considered her foolish for wasting money on an animal that in their eyes was already condemned. But she saw beyond the horse's debilitated appearance. She saw potential, strength, and above all, a soul that deserved a second chance. The journey back to her parents' small property seemed endless. The merciless sun beat down on their backs, and the horse could barely keep up with her pace. Several times Emily had to stop, offering water to the animal and whispering words of encouragement. When she finally caught sight of the familiar outlines of her house, Emily felt a mix of relief and apprehension. How would she explain her impulsive decision to her parents? How would she convince her father, a practical man of few words, that this skeletal horse was worth the investment? As they approached, Emily saw her father, John, standing on the porch, arms crossed and brow furrowed. Her mother, Sarah, appeared right behind him, an expression of concern etched on her gentle face. "Emily," her father's voice sounded grave and full of disapproval. "What is the meaning of this?" The young woman took a deep breath, gathering all the courage she possessed. "Dad, Mom, I know it seems crazy, but this horse needs our help. He deserves a chance." Sarah approached, her eyes alternating between her daughter and the mistreated animal. "Oh my God, he's in terrible shape," she murmured, compassion evident in her voice. John, however, remained impassive. "Daughter, we barely have the resources to keep our own farm running. How do you expect us to care for an animal in this condition?" Emily felt tears forming in her eyes, but she held them back. This was not the time to cry. It was time to fight. "Dad, I used my own savings. I won't ask you for anything more than a little space in the stable. I'll take care of him myself, I promise." The silence that followed seemed to last an eternity. John observed the horse with critical eyes, while Sarah cast pleading glances at her husband. Finally, with a deep sigh, John relented. "All right," he said, his voice a mixture of resignation and a touch of reluctant pride. "But he's your responsibility, Emily. If there's no improvement in a month, we'll have to make a difficult decision." The young woman's face lit up with a radiant smile. "Thank you, Dad. You won't regret it, I promise." That night, as she settled the horse in the old stable, Emily whispered to him, "See, we're both fighters. We'll show everyone what we're capable of." The animal, as if understanding every word, whinnied softly and rested its muzzle on Emily's shoulder. It was the beginning of a journey that neither of them could have foreseen, but one that would change their lives forever. As night fell over Green Valley, Emily remained in the stable, planning the next steps. She knew the path would be arduous, but she was determined to transform this rejected horse into a champion. Little did she know that this impulsive decision would not only change the animal's fate, but also her own, and that of the entire community around her. The crowing of roosters announced the sunrise in Green Valley, but Emily had been up for hours. She spent the night in the stable, watching over the restless sleep of her newly acquired horse. With the first rays of light, she began her mission of recovery. "Good morning, friend," she whispered, approaching the animal with a bucket of fresh water. "Let's start our day, shall we?" The horse, still wary, watched each of the young woman's movements with attentive eyes. Emily knew that gaining his trust would be the first and most crucial step. With patience, she offered water and a small portion of fresh hay. "We need to go slow," she explained, more to herself than to the animal. "Your stomach must be sensitive after so long without proper food." As the horse eagerly drank the water, Emily took the opportunity to examine him more closely. Her heart tightened as she saw the marks of mistreatment, scars on his legs, patches of missing hair in some areas, cracked hooves. "How much pain you must have endured," she murmured, feeling a mixture of anger and compassion. Determined not to waste time, Emily left the stable and went to the house. Her parents were already in the kitchen having breakfast. "Good morning," she said, trying to sound cheerful despite her fatigue. "Dad, can I borrow some tools? I need to fix some loose boards in the stable." John raised his eyes from his coffee, a mixture of concern and admiration in his gaze. "Sure, honey. But don't you think you should rest a bit first?" Emily shook her head, determined. "I can't waste time. Every minute is precious for his recovery." Sarah approached, placing her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "At least eat something first, dear. You need to take care of yourself too." Reluctantly, Emily accepted a piece of bread with butter and a glass of milk before returning to work. The following hours were dedicated to repairs in the stable, cleaning the space, and preparing a comfortable area for the horse to rest. By noon, exhausted but satisfied, Emily observed her work. The stable was cleaner and safer, with a soft bed of fresh straw for the horse. It was then that an idea occurred to her. "You need a name," she said, turning to the animal. She studied him for a moment, noticing how, despite his debilitated condition, there was still a glimmer of nobility in his eyes. "How about Phoenix, like the bird that rises from the ashes?" The horse whinnied softly, as if approving the choice. Emily smiled, feeling that they had taken a small but significant step in their journey together. The following weeks were filled with intense work and tireless dedication. Emily established a rigorous routine. She woke up before dawn, cared for Phoenix, helped with farm chores, and at night studied everything she could about equine care and rehabilitation of mistreated horses. Her parents, initially skeptical, began to notice changes not only in Phoenix, but also in Emily. The young woman, once shy and reserved, now displayed unshakable confidence and determination. "You know, Sarah," John commented one night, watching their daughter return from the stable, "I think that horse might have been the best thing that happened to our girl." Sarah nodded, a proud smile on her lips. She always had that fire inside her. She just needed something to ignite it. Meanwhile, in the village, news about the crazy girl who bought the dying horse spread quickly. Many laughed and placed bets on how long it would take for the animal to succumb. Others, more compassionate, offered advice and even some supplies to help Emily in her endeavor. One of these well-wishers was Mr. Wilson, the retired veterinarian of the village. Intrigued by the young woman's determination, he decided to pay a visit to the Johnson farm. "So this is the famous horse," he said, examining Phoenix with expert eyes. "I must say, Emily, I'm impressed. He already looks much better than they described to me." Emily, eager for professional guidance, bombarded Mr. Wilson with questions about nutrition, exercises, and medical care. The veterinarian, touched by the young woman's enthusiasm, spent hours sharing his knowledge. "You have a gift, my dear," he said as he was leaving. "Keep it up, and this horse will surprise a lot of people." Mr. Wilson's words were the encouragement Emily needed. With renewed vigor, she intensified her efforts. Each day brought small victories, Phoenix gaining weight, his coat regaining its shine, his eyes filling with life. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were difficult days, moments of doubt and despair. On a particularly cold night, Phoenix had a relapse, shivering and refusing to eat. Emily spent the entire night by his side, whispering words of encouragement and praying for a miracle. "Don't give up now, Phoenix," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "We've come so far, you're strong, I know you are, please fight." As if responding to her pleas, Phoenix raised his head and whinnied weakly. At that moment, Emily knew that her bond with the animal went beyond that of a mere caretaker and patient. They were partners, friends, souls united by a common purpose. As the days turned into weeks, Phoenix's transformation became increasingly evident. His body, once skeletal, began to gain muscle mass. His coat, formerly dull and lifeless, now shone in the sun. But the most noticeable change was in his eyes. The empty gaze had given way to a flame of determination that mirrored that of his young caretaker. The 1-month deadline set by John was approaching, but now not even the pragmatic farmer could deny the animal's progress. One sunny afternoon, he joined Emily in the pasture where she was exercising Phoenix. "You know, honey," he said, watching the horse trot with increasing vigor, "I think I owe you an apology. I thought you were throwing your money and time away, but, well, you proved me wrong." Emily hugged her father, feeling a wave of emotion. "Thank you for trusting me, Dad. That means a lot." As father and daughter talked, they didn't notice a figure observing from a distance. It was Anthony Miller, the wealthy owner of the local horse ranch. His astute eyes evaluated Phoenix with growing interest. "Interesting," he muttered to himself. "Very interesting indeed." That night, as Emily prepared for bed, she couldn't contain the feeling that they were on the verge of something big. Phoenix had exceeded all expectations, proving that with love, care, and determination, miracles were possible. "Tomorrow is a new day, Phoenix," she said, stroking the horse's muzzle. "And something tells me that great things are coming our way." Little did Emily know that her words were more prophetic than she could imagine. Fate was about to throw new challenges and opportunities in her path, testing not only her dedication to Phoenix, but also her own strength of character. As the stars shone over Green Valley, Emily fell asleep, dreaming of green fields and the silhouette of a majestic horse galloping free. The future, with all its promises and dangers, eagerly awaited the dawn. The sun had barely peeked over the horizon when Emily was awakened by an agitated whinny coming from the stable. In seconds, she jumped out of bed and ran outside, her heart racing with concern. Upon reaching the stable, she found Phoenix restless, pawing at the ground nervously. But it wasn't a medical emergency that was disturbing him. Outside, standing with a calculating smile, was Anthony Miller, the owner of the prestigious Starlight Ranch. "Good morning, Miss Emily," he greeted with false cordiality. "I hope I haven't come too early." Emily, still breathless from the run, furrowed her brow. "Mr. Miller, what brings you here so early?" The middle-aged man adjusted his cowboy hat, a glint of ambition in his eyes. "I've come to do business, my dear. I've heard about the miracle you've performed with this horse and, well, I'm interested in buying him." Surprise made Emily take a step back. "Buy? But Phoenix isn't for sale." Anthony laughed, a sound that didn't reach his eyes. "Come now, miss, everyone has their price. I'm willing to offer a generous amount, more than enough to buy 10 first-class horses." The offer was tempting. Emily couldn't deny it. The money would solve many of her family's financial problems. But looking at Phoenix, seeing the trust and bond they had built, she knew that no amount in the world could buy that. "I'm sorry, Mr. Miller," she said, with a firmness that surprised even herself. "But Phoenix isn't for sale, at any price." Anthony's smile disappeared, giving way to a look of displeasure. "You're young and naive, girl. You don't know what you're refusing. Think carefully. This might be your only chance to get out of this mediocre life." The words hit Emily like a slap, but she stood her ground. "My answer is still no. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." As she watched Anthony Miller walk away, muttering veiled threats, Emily felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. She knew she had done the right thing, but also that she had just made a powerful enemy. In the weeks that followed, life on the Johnsons' small farm took on a new rhythm. News of Anthony Miller's offer spread quickly through the village, attracting curious onlookers, and even some admirers to see the famous miracle horse. Emily, encouraged by the growing interest, began to intensify Phoenix's training. With the help of Mr. Wilson, the retired veterinarian, she developed an exercise program that aimed not only to strengthen the animal's physique, but also to improve his agility and obedience. One afternoon, while working with Phoenix in the small improvised field, Emily noticed a group of young people observing from a distance. Among them was Julia, Anthony Miller's daughter, and one of the best riders in the region. "So it's true," said Julia, approaching with a mix of curiosity and disdain. "The dying horse actually survived." Emily tried to ignore the provocative tone. "Phoenix is much more than a survivor. He's a fighter." Julia circled the animal, evaluating him with critical eyes. He's not bad. But he's still far from being a competition horse." "Who said we want to compete?" Emily retorted, feeling a twinge of irritation. A challenging smile appeared on Julia's lips. "Oh no? Then why all this training? Come on, Emily. Admit that deep down you dream of seeing this horse shine in the arena." Julia's words, though provocative, planted a seed in Emily's mind. It was true that she had never seriously considered the idea of competitions, but now that it had been mentioned, "Maybe someday," Emily replied, trying to sound indifferent. "For now, we are just focused on Phoenix's full recovery." Julia shrugged, already walking away. "Well, if you ever decide to really test his skills, know that the doors of Starlight Ranch will be, well, not exactly open, but you know where to find us." That night, while tending to Phoenix in the stable, Emily couldn't get the conversation with Julia out of her head. The idea of competing, of proving Phoenix's worth to the world, was both exciting and frightening. "What do you think, big guy?" she asked, stroking the horse's neck. "Do you think we have what it takes to face the best?" In response, Phoenix whinnied softly and rested his muzzle on Emily's shoulder in a gesture she interpreted as unconditional support. The next day, determined to explore this new possibility, Emily sought out Mr. Wilson. The veterinarian listened attentively as she explained her ideas and doubts about entering the world of equestrian competitions. "Emily," he said, after a long reflective pause, "you and Phoenix have already overcome so many obstacles. If you decide to compete, it will just be one more challenge to overcome. But remember, your true value isn't in medals or trophies, but in the bond you've built." Encouraged by Mr. Wilson's words, Emily decided to take the next step. With the help of her parents and some neighbors, she began to transform an abandoned piece of the farm into a small training track. The work was hard but rewarding. Each obstacle built, Each meter of fence erected was a step towards a dream that until recently had seemed impossible. As the track took shape, Emily intensified Phoenix's training. Hours were dedicated to perfecting jumps, improving posture, and synchronizing movements between horse and rider. The nights, once dedicated to rest, were now filled with studies on riding techniques and competition rules. However, not everything ran smoothly. One morning, during a particularly intense training session, Phoenix stumbled while jumping an obstacle, almost throwing Emily off. The incident, though without serious consequences, shook the confidence of both. "Maybe we're rushing things," Emily murmured, anxiously examining Phoenix's legs for injuries. "What if we're not ready? What if I'm putting too much pressure on you?" In that moment of doubt, it was Sarah, Emily's mother, who offered words of wisdom. "Honey," she said, putting an arm around her daughter's shoulders, "remember why you started all this. It wasn't for glory or recognition, but for love. Trust in that love and the bond you have with Phoenix. The rest will come naturally." Renewed by the conversation with her mother, Emily decided to take a bold step. She entered Phoenix in a small local competition, scheduled for 2 months from then. It wasn't a grand event, but it would be the first real test for both of them. News of the entry spread quickly through Green Valley. Some expressed support and admiration for the duo's courage. Others, more skeptical, saw the decision as foolishness doomed to fail. Anthony Miller, upon hearing the news, just smiled enigmatically. "Interesting," he muttered to himself. "Very interesting indeed." As the date of the competition approached, Emily's anxiety grew. But every time she mounted Phoenix, feeling the animal's strength and confidence beneath her, all doubts dissipated. They had come a long way together, overcoming obstacles that seemed insurmountable. One night, while observing the stars outside the stable, Emily made a silent promise to Phoenix and to herself. No matter the outcome of the competition, they would face it together, as the team they had become. What Emily didn't know was that greater forces were in motion, and that the competition would be just the beginning of a much greater journey than she could imagine. Fate had grand plans for the country girl and her horse reborn from the ashes. The day of the competition dawned with a sky of intense blue, dotted with white fluffy clouds. Emily woke up even before the first rooster crow, a mix of anxiety and excitement making her heart race. "Today's the big day, Phoenix," she whispered, entering the stable. The horse whinnied softly as if understanding the importance of the moment. The small local competition was to be held in a field on the outskirts of Green Valley. It wasn't anything grand compared to major equestrian events, but for Emily and Phoenix, it represented the whole world. As she prepared Phoenix, brushing his coat until it shone and carefully braiding his mane, Emily couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them here. She remembered the skeletal, hopeless horse she had bought at the auction and compared him to the strong, confident animal now standing before her. "Look at you," she said, her eyes moist with pride. "No matter what happens today, you're already a champion to me." The entire Johnson family mobilized for the big day. John had lent the old farm truck to transport Phoenix, while Sarah had prepared a picnic basket full of goodies to keep everyone well fed during the event. Arriving at the competition site, Emily felt her stomach churn at the sight of the number of people and horses present. There were competitors of all ages, some clearly more experienced and better equipped than she was. "Don't be intimidated," said Mr. Wilson, who had made a point of coming to offer support. "Remember, you two have already won bigger battles than this." As they prepared in the designated area, Emily noticed curious glances and even some snickers directed at her and Phoenix. Clearly, the story of the miracle horse had spread, and not everyone believed they would be able to truly compete. Among the crowd, Emily spotted Anthony Miller and his daughter Julia. The businessman observed her with a calculating interest, while Julia seemed torn between disdain and reluctant curiosity. The competition began with the beginner categories. Emily watched each competitor attentively, absorbing as much information as possible about the course and the judges' expectations. Finally, it was Emily and Phoenix's turn. With her heart in her throat, Emily guided the horse to the starting line. Silence fell over the audience, all anxious to see how the unlikely duo would fare. "All right, Phoenix," Emily whispered, leaning over the animal's neck. "Let's show them what we're capable of." At the sound of the whistle, they set off. The first obstacles were overcome with grace and precision, surprising everyone. Emily felt in perfect sync with Phoenix, as if they were one being moving through the course. However, as they approached a particularly challenging jump, Emily felt Phoenix hesitate. For a fraction of a second, the fear of failure threatened to overwhelm her. But then, remembering all the way they had come together, she whispered words of encouragement. "I trust you, friend. We can do this." As if propelled by these words, Phoenix jumped. For a moment, it seemed that time had stopped. Emily could hear the horses breathing, feel every muscle contracting beneath her. And then they landed perfectly on the other side. The audience erupted in applause. For even those who had doubted before couldn't deny the incredible display of skill and connection between rider and horse. Crossing the finish line, Emily could hardly believe what they had just accomplished. Tears of joy streamed down her face as she hugged Phoenix's neck, feeling the warmth and strength of the animal under her hands. "You did it, my boy," she sobbed. "We did it." The results were announced shortly after. To everyone's surprise and joy, Emily and Phoenix had won third place in their category. It wasn't a victory, but for a debut it was more than anyone could have hoped for. As she received the award ribbon, Emily saw her parents in the crowd, their faces beaming with pride. Mr. Sao Wilson was applauding enthusiastically, a wide smile on his wrinkled face. But it was Anthony Miller's reaction that caught Emily's attention the most. The businessman was observing her with a new look, a mixture of reluctant respect and something else. Interest? Ambition? Emily couldn't decipher it, but she knew that look meant their journey was far from over. That night back at the farm, there was a small celebration. Neighbors and friends gathered to congratulate Emily and Phoenix, bringing treats and sharing stories late into the night. But for Emily, the most precious moment came later, when everyone had gone home. Alone in the stable with Phoenix, she reflected on all they had achieved. You know, Phoenix," she said, stroking the horse's muzzle, "I think this is just the beginning. We have a long road ahead, but together we can face any challenge." The horse whinnied softly, as if agreeing. At that moment, under the starry sky of Green Valley, Emily felt that the future was full of endless possibilities. What she didn't know was that her small victory had caught the attention of powerful people. Behind the scenes, plans were being drawn, alliances formed, and challenges prepared. Emily and Phoenix's journey was about to take an unexpected turn, taking them beyond the limits of Green Valley and testing not only their skills but also their loyalty and determination. As the night progressed, bringing with it the promise of a new dawn, fate wove its invisible threads, setting the stage for the next great adventure of the country girl and her reborn horse. The weeks following the competition brought a palpable change to Emily and Phoenix's life. Their unexpected success in the local trial had not only boosted the duo's confidence, but also attracted the attention of influential people in the equestrian world. On a sunny morning, while Emily was exercising Phoenix in the small training field they had improvised, a luxury car pulled up at the farm's entrance. From it stepped an elegant, middle-aged woman with a bearing that exuded authority and experience. "Good morning," the woman called out, approaching the fence. "You must be Emily. I'm Rebecca Carter, trainer for the National Equestrian Team." Emily nearly fell off the horse in surprise. Rebecca Carter was a living legend in the equestrian world, responsible for training some of the country's best riders. "Ms. Carter," Emily stammered, hastily dismounting to greet her. "It's an honor. What brings you to Green Valley?" Rebecca smiled, her eyes evaluating Phoenix with professional interest. "I heard about your performance in the local competition. Quite a story, I must say. A rescued horse and a novice rider taking third place in their debut. That caught my attention." Emily's heart raced. Was she dreaming? The great Rebecca Carter interested in her and Phoenix. "I've come to make you a proposal, Emily," Rebecca continued. "I'd like to invite you to an intensive training program at the Equestrian Excellence Center in New York. 3 months to hone your skills and Phoenix's, with the possibility of joining our junior team." The offer was tempting, a dream Emily didn't even know she had until that moment. But reality soon made itself present in her mind. "It's an incredible offer, Ms. Carter," Emily said hesitantly, "but I don't know if I can accept. My family depends on me here on the farm, and we don't have the resources for such training." Rebecca made a dismissive gesture with her hand. "The costs will be covered by the center. As for your family, well, 3 months go by quickly. And think about what this could mean for both of your futures." Emily's head was spinning. It was a unique opportunity, but leaving her family and Green Valley for so long, and Phoenix, how would he react to such a big change? Can I think about it for a bit?" Emily asked. "Of course," Rebecca replied, handing her a card. "You have a week to decide. Think carefully, Emily. Talents like yours and Phoenix's are rare. It would be a shame to waste them." That night during dinner, Emily shared the proposal with her parents. The reaction was mixed. Concern about her being away for so long, pride in the recognition of her talent, and anxiety about how they would manage the farm without her. "It's a great opportunity, honey," John said after a long silence, "but the decision is yours. We'll support you whatever you choose." Sarah, with tears in her eyes, added, "We just want your happiness, dear, and to see you reach your potential." The following days were ones of intense reflection for Emily. She spent hours with Phoenix, pondering the future. Part of her yearned for adventure, for the chance to learn and grow. Another part feared the unknown, the separation from everything she knew. One afternoon, while brushing Phoenix, Emily confided, "What do you think, big guy? Should we accept? It's a whole new world out there, full of challenges. But we'd be together, like always." As if understanding every word, Phoenix rested his muzzle on Emily's shoulder, in a gesture she interpreted as unconditional support. The final decision came after a conversation with Mr. Wilson. The old veterinarian, with his wisdom, offered a valuable perspective. "Emily," he said, "sometimes in life, opportunities like this come only once. If you don't try, you'll always wonder what if. Besides, think of all you could bring back to Green Valley, all the knowledge and experience." Those words were the final push Emily needed. With a mixture of nervousness and excitement, she called Rebecca Carter and accepted the proposal. The preparations for departure were a whirlwind. There was much to organize: documents for Phoenix, appropriate clothes for Emily, transportation arrangements. The news spread quickly through Green Valley, and soon the entire community mobilized to help. On the eve of departure, there was a small farewell party at the farm. Friends, neighbors, and even some former skeptics came to wish Emily and Phoenix good luck. Julia, Anthony Miller's daughter, surprised everyone by showing up with a gift, a new halter for Phoenix. "For good luck," she said, with a hesitant smile. "Show them what Green Valley is capable of." The morning of departure arrived, bringing with it a mix of emotions. Emily hugged her parents for a long time, promising to call every day. Sarah handed her a small box. "Open it when you're homesick," she said, her voice choked with emotion. With Phoenix safely accommodated in the trailer, Emily took one last look at the farm, at the hills of Green Valley, at the only home she had ever known. "Ready for a new adventure, Phoenix?" she whispered, stroking the horse's neck. Phoenix's excited whinny seemed to echo through the clear morning, as if it were an affirmative response. And so, with a heart full of hope and determination, Emily embarked on the journey that would change her life forever. As the trailer pulled away, taking Emily and Phoenix to their new destination, no one could have predicted the challenges, joys, and surprises that awaited them. The world of professional equestrianism was vast, and at times unforgiving. But with their unique connection and the strength of their bond, Emily and Phoenix were ready to face any obstacle. The sun rose on the horizon, painting the sky with shades of pink and gold, as if nature itself was wishing good luck to the young rider and her faithful equine companion. A new page in their lives was about to be written, full of infinite possibilities. The journey to New York was long and tiring, but Emily barely felt the discomfort, such was her anticipation. When they finally arrived at the Equestrian Excellence Center, it was already late afternoon. The complex was impressive: vast green fields, modern stables, and an obstacle course that made Emily's heart race with excitement. Rebecca Carter greeted them personally, guiding them through the facility. "This will be your home for the next 3 months," she explained. "We have the best instructors, veterinarians, and facilities in the country. Make the most of every moment, Emily." As she settled Phoenix into his new stable, Emily felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. The place was incredible, but also intimidating. Other horses in the neighboring stables seemed to be purebreds from prestigious lineages, making Phoenix look somewhat out of place. "Don't worry, buddy," she whispered, stroking Phoenix's muzzle. "We'll show everyone what we're capable of." The first day of training arrived with the sunrise. Emily, eager to begin, reached the main track even before the instructors. She was greeted by curious looks and some whispers from the other students. "So, that's the girl with the rescued horse?" Emily heard someone whisper. "She won't last a week here." Determined to prove her worth, Emily dove headfirst into training. The first weeks were brutal. She woke up before dawn, spent hours in the saddle, had theoretical classes on equine nutrition, competition strategies, and veterinary care. At night, exhausted, she could barely keep her eyes open to call her parents. Phoenix also faced his own challenges. The new environment, intense routine, and more complex obstacles tested his endurance and confidence. There were days when the horse seemed hesitant, almost scared. One particularly difficult afternoon, after a series of unsuccessful jumps, Emily felt the weight of discouragement. Sitting in the corner of the track, fighting back tears of frustration, she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Rebecca. "You know, Emily," she said, sitting down next to the young woman, "all great champions have been where you are now. What sets them apart is persistence." "But what if we're not good enough?" Emily blurted out. "What if I'm wasting everyone's time here?" Rebecca smiled understandingly. "Emily, when I saw you and Phoenix on that farm, I didn't just see talent. I saw a connection, a partnership. That's what makes true champions. Technique can be taught, but the bond you have, that's rare and precious." Encouraged by Rebecca's words, Emily found renewed strength. In the days that followed, she redoubled her efforts, spending extra time with Phoenix, strengthening their connection and mutual trust. Slowly but steadily, progress began to show. Phoenix gained confidence with each successful jump, and Emily felt her technique improving day by day. The skeptical looks from her peers began to transform into reluctant respect. A month after their arrival, the center held an internal competition. It was Emily and Phoenix's chance to show how much they had evolved. The course was challenging, with obstacles that would have seemed impossible weeks ago. When their turn came, Emily felt a surprising calm come over her. Leaning over Phoenix's neck, she whispered, "It's just us now, friend, like it's always been." The course was almost perfect. Each jump, each turn seemed like a synchronized dance between rider and horse. When they crossed the finish line, the initial silence from the audience soon transformed into enthusiastic applause. To everyone's surprise, including her own, Emily and Phoenix secured second place. Rebecca couldn't contain her proud smile. "See," she said, hugging Emily, "this is just the beginning." News of Emily's success soon reached Green Valley. Her parents, emotional, promised to visit her as soon as possible. Mr. Wilson sent a letter full of advice and words of encouragement, but not everything was rosy. Emily's prominence attracted the attention of some more experienced and ambitious competitors. Among them was Ryan, son of a famous horse breeder and rising star in the national circuit. "Impressive for a country girl and her fair horse," he commented, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "But don't be fooled. This world isn't for amateurs." Ryan's words, though harsh, only fueled Emily's determination. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she was willing to face every obstacle. As the second month of training approached its end, Rebecca called Emily for a conversation. "You've exceeded all expectations," said the trainer. "I'm considering including you in the team for this year's Junior National Championship. It would be an incredible opportunity, but also a great challenge. What do you say?" Emily felt the weight of the decision. Participating in a national championship was a dream she didn't even know she had until that moment. But was she ready? That night, alone with Phoenix in the stable, Emily opened the small box her mother had given her on the day of departure. Inside, she found an old photo, herself still a child, mounted on a pony at the local fair, her face lit up with joy. With tears in her eyes, Emily understood her mother's message. That dreamy girl still lived inside her, and now she had the chance to realize dreams bigger than she had ever imagined. "What do you think, Phoenix?" she asked, showing the photo to the horse. "Are we ready for the next big jump?" Phoenix's soft whinny seemed like an affirmative response. Emily smiled, feeling a wave of determination course through her body. Tomorrow she would give her answer to Rebecca. Emily's decision to accept the challenge of the Junior National Championship triggered a new wave of intensity in her training. The weeks leading up to the event were a whirlwind of preparations, final adjustments, and growing nervousness. Rebecca Carter, determined to prepare Emily and Phoenix for the level of competition they would face, increased the complexity of the exercises. Higher obstacles, more challenging sequences, and competition simulations became part of the daily routine. "Remember," Rebecca would constantly say, "at the championship, they won't just be judging your technique, but your partnership with Phoenix. It's that connection that sets you apart." As the big day approached, Emily felt the weight of expectations grow. It wasn't just her own hopes at stake, but those of all of Green Valley, the Excellence Center, and especially the trust that Rebecca had placed in her. A week before the championship, Emily received a surprise visit. Her parents had made the long journey to New York to see her. "My goodness, how you've changed," exclaimed Sarah, hugging her daughter with tears in her eyes. John, always more reserved, couldn't hide his pride. "Your mother's right. You look stronger, more confident." That visit was the emotional boost Emily needed. Seeing the pride in her parents' eyes, hearing stories of how all of Green Valley was rooting for her, renewed her energy for the battle that was to come. Finally, the day of the Junior National Championship arrived. The event was held in a huge equestrian complex on the outskirts of New York City. Emily felt small in the face of the grandeur of the place, with its packed grandstands and dozens of competitors from all over the country. As she prepared Phoenix in the temporary stable, Emily noticed the curious and sometimes disdainful looks from other competitors. Clearly, the story of the country girl and her rescued horse had spread. Ryan, the arrogant competitor Emily had met at the Excellence Center, approached with a smug smile. Well, if it isn't our equestrian Cinderella, ready to go back to your pumpkin when the clock strikes midnight." Emily felt her blood boil, but she kept her cool. "Thanks for your concern, Ryan. But I think you should focus on your own performance." The eliminations began, and Emily watched each competitor attentively, studying their techniques and strategies. When her turn finally came, she felt a strange calm come over her. "It's just us now, Phoenix," she whispered, stroking the horse's neck before entering the arena. Like it's always been. The silence that fell over the arena when Emily and Phoenix entered was palpable. Many spectators and judges seemed skeptical, waiting to see if the rumors about the unlikely duo were true. At the sound of the whistle, they set off. Each jump, each turn, each movement was a demonstration of the perfect harmony between rider and horse. Emily felt in total sync with Phoenix, as if they were a single entity moving through the course. When they crossed the finish line, there was a moment of stunned silence before the arena erupted in applause. Emily could hardly believe it when she saw her time and score. They had qualified for the final in 4th place. The semi-finals brought new challenges, with even more complex obstacles and a course that demanded absolute precision. Emily and Phoenix, however, seemed to gain confidence with each round. The final of the Junior National Championship was a spectacle in itself. Only the 10 best competitors had made it this far, and Emily found herself side by side with some of the most promising talents in national equestrianism. Moments before her turn, Rebecca approached. "Remember, Emily," she said with a confident smile, "you're already winners, just by being here. Now go out there and show everyone the magic I saw that day in Green Valley." With her heart racing, Emily led Phoenix into the arena. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of Phoenix's hooves on the sand. The final course was the most challenging Emily had ever faced. Each obstacle seemed like a mountain to be overcome, each turn a test of mutual trust. At the penultimate jump, a particularly high and complex obstacle, Emily felt Phoenix hesitate for a fraction of a second. In that brief moment, the entire journey they had taken together flashed before her eyes. The auction, the difficult days on the farm, the nights of training at the Excellence Center. "Trust me, friend," she whispered. "We can do this." As if responding to the call, Phoenix jumped. For an instant, Emily felt as if they were flying, suspended in the air in perfect harmony. They landed gracefully and, with a final effort, crossed the finish line. The electronic scoreboard flashed, revealing the result. Emily and Phoenix had won 2nd place in the Junior National Championship. The arena exploded in applause. Rebecca ran to hug Emily, tears of pride in her eyes. Her parents in the stands couldn't contain their emotion. Even Ryan, who had finished in third place, approached with a reluctantly respectful smile. "Congratulations," he said, extending his hand. "You proved you deserve to be here." As she received the silver medal, Emily felt like she was floating. She looked at Phoenix, her partner, her friend, the horse that no one wanted and who was now one of the best in the country. "We did it, big guy," she whispered, hugging Phoenix's neck. "We did it." That night, as the celebrations continued around her, Emily slipped away for a moment to be alone with Phoenix in the stable. She took the old photo her mother had given her out of her pocket, the image of the dreamy girl at the local fair. "Look at us, Phoenix," she said, smiling. "Who would have thought that little girl and that rejected horse would come so far?" Phoenix whinnied softly, as if agreeing. Emily hugged the horse's neck, feeling a deep gratitude. She knew this was just the beginning of their journey. The world of professional equestrianism was opening up before her, full of promises and challenges. But with Phoenix by her side, she felt ready to face any obstacle. As she stroked Phoenix's muzzle, Emily made a silent promise. No matter where this new life took them, they would never forget their roots, the small farm in Green Valley where it all began, and the people who believed in them when no one else did. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Emily and Phoenix's journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The months following the Junior National Championship were a roller coaster of emotions and experiences for Emily and Phoenix. Their unexpected success catapulted them into the spotlight of the American equestrian world. Invitations to competitions, sponsorship offers, and interviews in specialized magazines became part of their new reality. Rebecca Carter, seeing the duo's potential, offered Emily the opportunity to continue training at the Excellence Center indefinitely. It was a golden chance to solidify her career in the sport. However, amidst all the excitement and glamour of her new life, Emily felt a growing restlessness. The long hours of training, constant pressure for results, and highly competitive environment began to weigh on her. More than that, she missed the simplicity and warmth of Green Valley. One night, while tending to Phoenix after a long day of training, Emily confided, "You know, buddy, sometimes I wonder if we're on the right path. All of this is incredible, but it feels like we're losing something important." As always, Phoenix seemed to understand, gently resting his muzzle on Emily's shoulder. The decision came after an unexpected conversation with Ryan, her former rival, who had, over time, become a reluctant ally. "Emily," he said with unusual seriousness, "you have something that many here envy. It's not just your talent or your partnership with Phoenix. It's your genuine passion, your connection to the roots of the sport. Don't lose that." Those words echoed deeply in Emily. After nights of reflection and long conversations with her parents and Rebecca, she made a decision that surprised everyone. She would return to Green Valley. "But what about your career?" Rebecca asked, visibly shocked. "You have the potential to reach the Olympics." Emily smiled, feeling a peace she hadn't experienced in months. "I'm not giving up, Rebecca. I'm just redirecting. I have an idea, and I need your help." Emily's plan was audacious: to transform her parents' small farm into a training and rehabilitation center for rescued horses. She would combine her passion for equestrianism with her desire to help animals in need, as Phoenix once was. "I want to show that champions can come from anywhere," she explained. "And I want to give other horses the chance we gave Phoenix." Rebecca, after the initial surprise, embraced the idea with enthusiasm. "It's a unique vision, Emily. Count on me for whatever you need." The return to Green Valley was met with a mixture of joy and confusion by the community. Many didn't understand why Emily would abandon a promising career at its peak. The following months were filled with hard work and challenges. Transforming the old farm into a modern equestrian center required all the knowledge, determination, and resources Emily had accumulated. Rebecca kept her promise, offering guidance and using her contacts to garner support for the project. Slowly, the dream began to take shape. Stables were renovated, an obstacle course was built, and the first rescued horses began to arrive. Rebirth Ranch, as Emily named it, soon gained a reputation. Stories of horses recovered and transformed into champions began to spread. Young riders from all over the country, inspired by Emily and Phoenix's story, came seeking training. A year after her return, Emily organized a local competition in Green Valley. The event attracted participants from all over the country, including some big names from the national circuit. On the eve of the competition, while walking around the ranch observing the preparations, Emily felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Mr. Wilson, the retired veterinarian who had supported her so much at the beginning of her journey. "Look at all this," he said with misty eyes. "You've transformed not just Phoenix's life, but that of the entire community. I'm proud of you, girl." That night, alone in the stable with Phoenix, Emily reflected on the path they had traveled. She took out of her pocket the old photo her mother had given her, the image of the dreamy girl at the local fair. "Look at us, Phoenix," she said, smiling. "Who would have thought that little girl and that rejected horse would come so far?" Phoenix whinnied softly as if agreeing. Emily hugged the horse's neck, feeling a deep gratitude. The next day, the competition was a resounding success. Horses that were once rejected now shone in the arena, showing the world their true potential. Emily and Phoenix gave a special performance, reminding everyone of the incredible journey that had brought them here. As the crowd applauded, Emily looked around, at her parents, proud in the stands, at Rebecca, who had believed in her from the beginning, at the young riders she now trained, their eyes shining with admiration and hope. At that moment, Emily knew she had found her true purpose. It wasn't just about winning medals or trophies, but about inspiring, transforming lives and showing the world the power of love, perseverance, and second chances. The sun was setting over Green Valley, casting a golden glow over Rebirth Ranch. Emily, mounted on Phoenix, rode to the top of a nearby hill. From there, she could see the entire expanse of the ranch, the lights of the town in the distance, and the infinite horizon before her. "This is just the beginning, Phoenix," she whispered, stroking the horse's neck. "We have so much more to do, so many more lives to touch." As the stars began to twinkle in the twilight sky, Emily felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She and Phoenix had come full circle, returning to where it all began, but with a new purpose and a broader vision. They had not only changed their own lives, but had become a beacon of hope for others. The story of the country girl and her miracle horse had become a legend, inspiring countless others to believe in the power of second chances and the strength of the bond between human and animal. And as Emily gazed out over the land she loved, with Phoenix steady beneath her, she knew that their greatest adventures were still to come. For in the world of dreams and determination, every ending is just a new beginning. And for Emily and Phoenix, this was merely the start of a lifelong journey of compassion, courage, and the enduring spirit of hope.